What is going on, fellas? Well, today I actually got hit in the comments. I got hit up in the comments about, my method of spreading MX6 in particular. And they pointed me to a link on Arctic's website where Arctic actually specifically says not to apply this with a spatula because it's too viscous. And it clearly, and like right there, point blank, it says it doesn't work. Okay, not that it's not recommended, it just says that it doesn't work. If you don't believe me, go check it out for yourself. So today we will be testing MX6 and MX4 with this little piece of glass here, and it's relatively clean, as you can see. Okay, so this should work just fine. We'll be giving you a little bit of eye candy today so that you guys can get a really good close-up of what I'm doing and how this is coming out. The purpose of today's video is to either prove or disprove those claims that MX6 in particular should not be spread with the spatula, that the best method is to either use an X or a P method. So let's get into it. All right, so here we are at the Arctic manual where it talks about MX6. Here, MX6, or Arctic, I should say, clearly says MX6 is a viscous paste. Spreading with spatula does not work. And look at this. This is, oh man. Like, how can they say this? This is like, it seems to me like their R&D didn't even waste a minute or 30 seconds to even test if this is actually scientifically correct. Because as I'm about to show you, this is nonsense. And a lot of people, especially beginners, when they read this, when they see this, they take that as, okay, that's it. That's the ultimate, is stated here. So yeah, I'm not going to spread my thermal paste. I'm just going to use a P method and then find out later that maybe they didn't apply enough thermal paste and having thermal problems, with their GPU or graphics card or, whatever the case may be. But let's get into the video without doing so much mumbling. But yeah, it's right here. Arctic clearly says that. All right, fellas. So without further ado, let's go ahead and start with MX6, and we have to add a decent amount so that we make this fair. Okay, now the pressure that I'm about to exert on this here, it's about equivalent to what you would experience with a tower cooler or an AIO because of the torque and the springs and all that stuff. So I'm trying to push as much as I can, as you can see there. And the P method, you saw how much I applied. It was a good amount. But one thing I did learn about this was that you have to keep the pressure on, as you're about to see here in the video. You have to keep the pressure on so that the paste has enough time to run and cover a wider area, so it spreads, because just by leaving it like this, it would not be fair. So you can slowly see there the paste, it's starting to spread over the IHS. So yeah, now one thing that is very obvious is that there are no bubbles. You can clearly see that there's no gaps, nothing to complain about with the P method. The only thing is that you have to use a lot of it if you want it to be effective, because if you don't use a lot of it, you're going to be in the world of trouble. So yeah, but this looks okay. Let's go ahead and apply a little bit more pressure. Maybe we get better coverage that way. But yeah, this is similar to what an AIO would look like, or a tower cooler, when you put pressure on it like that. So, but as you can see, that the longer I push down on it, it's spreading more. So yeah, so this looks okay. I believe that we have no gaps there. As you can see, like this is, butt up against the IHS there. There's no gaps between the glass and the metal. Like this is in there or on there correctly. P method, but we're going to try the X method now. Okay, so now let's try the X method. And we have to be pretty generous here with the amount that we use. We're not going to skimp out on the thermal paste. We're going to be thorough and make sure that we add a reasonable amount. Because we're trying to do science here. So let's put this little thing here, this glass, on this IHS. And I chose this IHS in particular because it's the widest, it's just what seemed to make sense to me. So yeah, we'll exert pressure, or try to at least exert pressure evenly on all four corners. And as you can see, it works okay. And you can see my fingers there, like I'm applying a lot of pressure on this stuff. But you see that there's sides there that are, not covered. So, and I don't want to be like, applying pressure individually on those corners, because that's just not realistic. That is not what we're here to do. We want to apply pressure in the center evenly, or overall on the IHS, so that we get a similar result as close as possible to what it would be like in real life if you were using the X method on an IHS, whether it be Intel or AMD. And I took my time there, but as you can see, that does a almost perfect job. So I say about 95% of the IHS is covered. And another thing, you don't see any air bubbles, which indicates that this is a very good method, actually. Very good method. I would be happy using this and pretty comfortable using this method going forward. And as you can see, there's no gap there between the IHS and the glass. This is like on it, tight squeeze. So I am pretty happy with this result with the X method. I wouldn't be worried about air bubbles or not making enough contact or not covering the IHS completely. This works. So there it is. Okay, so now let's try what Arctic said will not work. This is not going to work because it's too viscous. All right, let's try. It's not my method. It's just, just a lot of people do it, but I do this in particular. I do the spread method. And one thing you have to notice here is that you have to go slowly. If you rush applying this paste, I'm about to show you here what happens. It starts to roll on you, and it starts to cause gaps. See, like you see there at the bottom, it will cause gaps because you're going too fast. This is very viscous. Indeed, it is. So you have to just kind of let the spatula kind of guide you. Just go with the speed. I don't know how to say this, but just let it glide. If you go too fast, like I'm doing right now, watch. See what happens there? See that gap? That's why you got to go slowly. Look at that. Easy peasy. No stress. Just take your time. And the reason why I do and I prefer and I will always prefer the spread method is because I want every single millimeter on the IHS to be covered with thermal interface material. I don't want to have that in back of my mind, like it's that I apply enough thermal paste, that I leave any gaps, anything like that. I don't want to have to worry about that and find out the hard way when my CPU or GPU is overheating and having to redo everything again. I don't want to do that. So let's try now and see what happens when we test what Arctic said is not possible. It's just not going to work. It doesn't work. Okay, and look at the lines there. Okay, so let's apply pressure as you would as a tower cooler or an IHS. An AIO cold plate would. Okay. Now, in time, also keep in mind that in time, as the pressure is exerted continuously on that surface, the paste will start to spread and even out and so forth. But look at this. Do you see any bubbles? Any air bubbles there? Any gaps? Any, there's parts there that are the paste did not like you know is not a bubble, but is rather a what you call where the paste is harder than the rest. But there are no air bubbles there. Nothing at least significant that is going to cause temperature differences in your application. So let's just be fair and apply pressure, because that's what we're here to do. We're here to either verify or prove or disprove what Arctic claims. And as you can see, it's a perfect, almost perfect application. Like no air bubbles, none of that stuff that Arctic was saying is true. As I'm showing you here, like, and on the other side, there's also like little stains on the glass. So no, there's on the other side of the glass, but there are nothing significant there to make a difference enough to be like, oh my gosh, this is going to overheat, cause overheating on my IHS. But as you can see, this covers 99% of the IHS, so nothing to worry about. Okay, so now let's try MX4, and we're going to start with the P method. And if I may, I will say this: I love MX4. It's been my preferred paste. It's been my best performing paste and the go-to paste for many years. So, but we're gonna try it today and see how the P method works. Now, one thing about MX4 is that it is a lot easier and less viscous than MX6, and it is easier to spread. This thing is, it's very nice to work with. And yet, even though it's not as viscous as MX6, it does perform very well, especially in longevity, like longevity wise. They claim 8 years, and in fact, I've had this on older graphics cards for a little bit longer than that, and it still performs as a day one. So here I'm applying a decent amount of pressure and giving it time so that the paste can spread evenly, just to make it fair. And as we've seen with MX6, we shouldn't have an issue with the P method as long as you apply enough. And as you can see here, that's almost perfect application. There's no gaps, nothing significant. The only thing is that I don't like that it doesn't cover, because of the nature of it. It's a round kind of, of spread. It doesn't cover the full IHS. So there's the corners there that are left exposed. But that's just the way it is. Okay, so now let's try the spread method again with MX4 and see if there are any differences as far as like gaps or coverage or anything like that. And as you can see, you get the same results with MX4, even though it is a lot less viscous. If you go too fast, you're going to have gaps. So I don't know about what Arctic is saying, that it just doesn't work. That is obviously not true, and I hope that I've proven that in this video. It's not about the paste, it's about who is applying it and how they are applying it. You can have the same issues with MX4 or with MX6 as you would with MX4 if you're going too fast. You have to take your time, go slowly over the IHS, or else you will see those gaps there. If you go too fast, take your time, watch, just go slowly, and you'll be able to cover the whole IHS. No issue. Nothing to worry about. Look at that. It's a perfect spread. So let's go ahead and put the glass on top of it now and see how this spread does with MX4, and if there's going to be any air bubbles, any gaps or anything like that, anything significantly or significant that will cause problems, temperature problems for either an IHS or direct die contact like on a GPU. And we are applying a good amount of pressure there, not too much because I don't want to shatter the glass, but this is the pressure that you would expect from, like I said many times, from the torque, the screws, the amount of torque that some of these AIOs and tower coolers exert on top of IHSs. So this is a good amount of pressure to allow for that paste to spread as it would in real life, or in a real scenario like over a IHS or die or direct die. So let's wipe some of the fingerprints and some of the dirt on top. But yeah, as you can see here, there are 0 gaps with using the spread method. Look at that. No air bubbles, nothing. It's just perfect contact. And this is why I like to spread it, because this is what I like to see. I like to have that peace of mind that there's no air bubbles, there's no areas that are missing. Sorry for the autofocus there, but there's no areas that are not covered with thermal paste. I don't want to have to redo this, and I don't want to have to experience any temperature problems. So there you have it. Yeah, it's spread method for me is the best, and it's a way for me to have peace of mind that things will be just fine. So these two, I mean, it really, like I said, it all really depends on who is applying the thermal paste and the method, like methodology, of, if that's even a word, how you're using the paste. So if you're not taking your time, if you're just going real quick or too fast, you're gonna have trouble, you're gonna have gaps. So MX4, MX6, they both work the same, or I would say any other thermal paste would be the same if you're doing it correctly. You just got to take your time, spread it, slowly. The more viscous the paste is, the slower you got to spread it. And that's it. All right, I'm going to leave it here. I hope you guys enjoy the video. I'll see you on the next one.